But I want to hit one other story, and this ties into the idea of what we're talking about, what the left is trying so hard to do. Many of you have heard that they're talking about this. They use the name Karen, which, as a small aside, I hate that because Karen's a great name. I have friends and family members who are named Karen, but Central Park Karen loves Obama. What I want to explain to you is, you may have heard the term Karen is being used, it's very cool in social media, to refer to the wealthy, white, bigoted, intolerant, ignorant voter, the kind of the dumb woman who is protesting out there against the shutdown and who is otherwise just an intolerable, yucky person. So in Central Park in New York City, there was a woman who was out walking her dog. It was in an area of Central Park where you're supposed to have your dog on your leash. Apparently there are areas you don't have to have your dog on the leash, but she's where you did have to have your dog on the leash. A guy came along. He happened to be black. He was there because he likes to watch birds. They use the word a birder, but he enjoys bird watching. So he sees her. He asks her to please put her dog back on the leash in this area. And part of the reason, I was reading more about it, part of the reason in that area of the park is that dogs running around trample on foliage. I guess they have a lot of pretty flowers and foliage, and scare the birds and animals. And so this part of the park is supposed to be not dogs running wild. So this woman named Amy Cooper, who is now known forever for the rest of her life as Central Park Karen, got approached by this guy to ask, and he said, would you please put your dog back on the leash? So now I'll ask Matt the Wonderful to play. This is the clip. So what happened was he asked her, put your dog on the leash. She didn't want to, and he picked up his cell phone, turned on, so he's video recording this interaction with this woman. And you'll watch it in a moment, and then I'll tell you, it went viral. And her conduct toward him, her rudeness toward him, her reference to his race, which was irrelevant, but I want you to hear how she acted. This is Central Park Karen.
Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to me.
I'm taking pictures and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm in a ramble, and there is a man, African-American, he has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African-American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the ramble. I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay, people, that woman, Amy Cooper, because the man asked her to please put her dog on the leash. First of all, you're watching, she practically killed the dog, the way she's strangling the dog by the neck as she's calling. But this is a woman hysterical because a guy asked her to please put her dog on the leash. She makes reference to his race, calls the police, and fortunately he's recording it, saying there's an African-American man threatening my life. The guy, whose last name also happens to be Cooper, but the guy is saying, please call the police. Go right ahead. Please do. So this woman was being vilified, as she should have been, being vilified on social media. People putting tweets out about, how she's obviously like a Trump supporter. In fact, I'll just read you a few tweets because the story went viral. People are commenting on, you see the kind of racial tension that President Trump has created in this country. You have this crazy Karen, this conservative white woman attacking and vilifying this poor black man who happened to be walking in the park. And so one tweet, Amy Cooper, that's this woman's name, Amy Cooper, will probably receive an invitation to the White House and be awarded the Medal of Freedom from Trump After all, she represents everything Trump loves: racism, hatred, lying, and a dog hater. And so there was a hashtag Amy Cooper going nuts. Another person said, "This is serious. Happened today in Manhattan. As a public defender for over a decade, I have tried cases where the Manhattan DA uses a hysterical 911 call as categorical evidence of guilt. Usually there's no video like this." Okay, the point in telling you this story is that that woman, first I'll tell you what happened to her. She lost her job. She had a $170,000 a year job, so she's an executive at Franklin Templeton. Everyone in the country knows her name. They might think it's really Karen, but it's Amy Cooper. The guy, Christian Cooper, the guy who videoed it, was, very calm in his voice, as you heard, happy to have her call the police. And what happened, he said, "Please put your dog on the leash." And she was saying, "No, the dog wants to run free. He hasn't been out today. I'm going to let him run free." She's ignoring the rules. He's saying, "But, I'm here to bird watch, and your dog is scaring the birds away." But back to the story. So she loses her job. I think that someone might have had her dog taken away. And so she put out an apology saying, "I'm really, really sorry. I kind of overreacted. So sorry about that." But the point is, everyone in media, CNN as a really good example, CNN piled on this guy. CNN talked about him, about this woman as a dust-up, as another example. This is CNN describing Central Park Karen as another example of white people calling the police on African Americans for mundane things. Okay, Amy Cooper. Central Park Karen is a Obama campaign donor, a Pete Buttigieg, former Democrat presidential candidate, donor, a donor to John Kerry, and voted for Obama twice. She's a leftist. And all of a sudden, when someone dug into, who is this woman? The left has been looking for reasons and arguments and examples to make to the American people that look what Trump has done. He's created all this hatred in this country. This nut job who didn't want to put her dog on a leash in the park, she's a leftist. Her attitudes are shaped by leftism. Her attitudes are not shaped by Donald Trump. She's a leftist attacking a polite man who happened to be black in Central Park and asked her politely to please put her dog on the leash as the law requires. So all of a sudden, Central Park Karen, star of the CNN video, and CNN's, talking about her as a white conservative racist, and all these Twitter people are out there mocking her and saying, "You see, this is what she's probably getting a Medal of Honor from Trump." She's a Dem. She's an Obama supporter. She's an ugly racist Democrat. That, my friends, is Central Park Karen. And I don't usually go into stories like that in the show. I love to stay on really high level political issues, but the culture being created in this country shapes election outcomes. The culture being shaped by CNN, by leftists in media, by Twitter shutting down anyone who tries to share a conservative point of view, Facebook shutting down people who are putting out facts, who are saying, "I'd like to share some facts. I'd like to share what I know." Twitter, Facebook, social media shutting down conservatives. All of this activism by leftists in this country, by CNN, it is actually extremely detrimental to our culture. It makes, the idea that fortunately that guy was there and could video it so he could show what really happened, because she was obviously trying to get him arrested. She's in a park. He hasn't threatened her at all. But she's trying to get him arrested for daring to speak to her and ask her to put her dog on a leash. She's the racist only because he was lucky enough to think about getting his phone out, turning on the video and recording her. Is he now in the clear and she's the one suffering? But I tell you this story because these kinds of things, when you see CNN telling stories, putting stories out about another example of, white people doing terrible things, and it's a terribly racist country, and always trying to tie it back somehow to President Trump, always trying to tie it back to conservatism. It is really important to understand that CNN did not bother to fact check because they don't care what the truth is. CNN pounced because they thought they had a story to fulfill their narrative, their mission of destroying Trump, of painting Trump as a racist, of painting conservatism as racism. And fortunately for this guy, his name is Christian Cooper, the gentleman who is a bird watcher, fortunately for him, he had his camera, so the truth is out there. But I'll close up the show before I get to the why it matters part of the show, which I love doing at the end of the show. I'll close this out by saying this. Many, many things shape people's views about America, about candidates, about culture, about what's happening to our country. CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC and Washington Post and New York Times are not in the business of telling America the truth and then giving you, the American people, the respect that says, now we put out the facts. Now you, American people, you can decide what you think, how you wish to vote, what you believe in, what you stand for, what policies you like, what candidates you like. All of left-wing media is always and forever about shaping your perception, lying in the case of, back to what President Trump tried to tweet, we talked about in the start of the show, Trump tried to tweet, hey, you know, mail-in ballots are all about fraud, and everyone, my friends, who pays any attention to these kinds of issues understands they are just a playground for left-wing vote fraud. Trump tries to say that, and New York Times and a whole bunch of other outlets, quickly, they call it fact-checking, when the fact-checking really is attacking him for telling the people the truth. MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, all of them are about shaping public perception, deluding people, urging you to see America as a terrible, evil, awful, racist country, trying to paint America as full of white people who do terrible things all the time, and that we have an entire segment of our precious population in America, the black community, that's constantly under assault. This is what the effort is of the American left. It is our job as patriots, no matter your race, ethnicity, national origin, or skin color, it is our job to call them out when they lie, to point out their lies, to speak the truth, and to most of all, don't get drawn in and duped by the lies of the left. Because what they're trying to do is not just shape your views on this and a particular story and another story. It's your broader, bigger view of what kind of country America is as the left is trying to shape. You know what kind of country this is. This is a noble, extraordinary, great country. And you have the left working and the media sources in the left to convince you it's not. And this is going to matter a great deal in the fall, in the elections of 2020, when how much did the social media giants win in lying to the American people about what America is all about, lying to the American people about the Trump agenda, lying to the American people about the Trump success record. How much did they succeed or not will depend a lot on how active we are as American citizens in calling them out, correcting them, and sharing those stories with your friends.